He's moving from employee to employer. Business Standard.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Monish, your host today, and let me welcome you all to the Business Standard Awards Winners Conclave, a celebration of excellence in business and social work. This is the 21st edition of BS Awards. We are hosting it online this year due to the pandemic, though with a silver lining of reaching out to a much larger live audience. You're watching this on bsawards.in, Business Standards homepage, and Facebook. Please use the hashtag BS Awards for social conversations. May I request Mr. Shamal Majumdar, Business Standard Editor, to talk about the awards process, the various categories, and the juries involved in the selection.
Thanks, Manish. Good afternoon, everybody. Once again, a very warm welcome to all of you to this special webinar on Business Standard Annual Awards for Excellence in Business. We are here to honor the achievements of a few outstanding individuals and organizations who have gone off the beaten track to achieve success that has proved to be scalable and sustainable, success that is not only today's, but an enduring one. We are grateful to the distinguished panelists, all award winners, for taking time off their busy schedule to share their thoughts with us. The awards were announced in February this year, but could not be presented due to the pandemic. We finally decided to present the awards at the award winners' offices and residences, which all of them gratefully accepted. Today's Winners Conclave is also our way to celebrate and acknowledge the contribution of all these outstanding individuals in shaping their companies and the Indian economy at large. These awards are an outcome of rigorous analysis of their performance judged under several parameters. The preliminary analysis was done in some cases by our in-house research bureau and in some others by reputed external agencies. This data was then refined and enriched by qualitative assessments made by independent juries comprising some of the most distinguished names of Indian industry and social enterprise. Let me reiterate that the role of business standard editors ended after we presented the data on the best candidates to the juries. And the kind of qualitative thinking that the independent juries provided make us believe that the BS Awards have become the benchmark for recognizing excellence. And we are indeed very proud of that. Let me now turn to specific award categories. The winners of the Business Standard Awards for Corporate Excellence were selected by a jury headed by Mr. Kumar Mangalam Birla, Chairman of Aditya Birla Group. The other members were JSW Group Chairman Sajan Jindal, Bain Capital Private Equity Chairman Amit Chandra, EY India Chairman Rajiv Memani, KKR India CEO Sanjay Nair, and Omidyar Network India MD Rupa Kudwa. We also had Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas Managing Partner Cyril Schroff and McKinsey & Co Senior Partner Noshir Kaka. The task of selecting the winners was a difficult one, as the shortlist across categories had several strong contenders. Our research bureau presented to the jury a detailed information docket containing details of shortlisted candidates. The shortlisting was done on the basis of top line and bottom line growth and other financial criteria, including market cap, returns on net worth, and capital employed. The bar was indeed set high. As the jury chairman, Mr. Birla said, while outstanding financial performance of all the shortlisted companies in trying times should help in making the first cut, equal importance must be given to individuals who focused on innovation and built real institutions in the midst of a challenging external environment. The names that were finally chosen was a mix of known organizations that have outperformed peers consistently for many years, as also new companies that have done well in recent years but are still to be recognized. The Banker of the Year was chosen by another eminent jury headed by former RBI Deputy Governor S.S. Mundra. The other members were former SBI Chairman Arundhati Bhattacharya, Vice Chairman and CEO of HDFC K.K. Mistry, Icon Investment Advisors Chairman Anil Singhvi, and Saurabh Mukherjee, Chief Investment Officer and Founder of Marcellus Investment Managers. At the end of the entire exercise, to select the award winners in several categories over many months, actually, it was indeed fascinating to see the quality of work and perspective the distinguished members of all the juries brought in to help us choose the best of the best. It was also a huge learning process for me and my colleagues in Business Standard, and we are indeed grateful to each of the jury members, some of whom are present today, the webinar, for lending that golden touch to the selection process. Congratulations once again to all the award winners. Thank you very much. Over to Manish.
Thank you, Mr. Majumdar. And in continuation, here are some observations from our corporate awards jury.
BS Awards are quite unique because they spawn across categories from stalwarts to people who just started up, from SMEs to MNCs to PSUs. So I think they have a very interesting mix of categories, and also they have the finest as part of the jury.
I really enjoyed the jury deliberations this year. As in previous years, it's always frank and thorough conversation, and we always land up with a consensus around the final sort of candidate who we select in each category.
Let me now invite Mr. T.N. Nainen, Business Standard Chairman, for today's keynote address.
Thank you, Manish, and good afternoon, everyone. I am, of course, very pleased that we can honor our award winners this year, even if it is only by remote communication. I must thank everyone for joining in. I would especially like to thank the juries for their efforts and offer my congratulations to this year's award winners. We have read quite a lot in the last couple of years that put a darker shade on Indian business. People have fled the country or failed to pay creditors. Some prominent names in business have lost their companies in bankruptcy proceedings. This has created doubts in many minds about how good India's private and broader corporate sector really is. I think it is fair to say that there will always be a few bad eggs in any basket. And since business is a risky affair, there will be some who fail. This is perfectly normal and to be expected. In fact, it would be most abnormal if all businesses succeeded all the time. What is important is that the success stories outshine and outnumber the failures, and that we are separating the wheat from the chaff. India remains entrepreneurial and is constantly creating new winners. Our business leaders are among India's greatest assets. A roll call of some of our past winners makes my point quite clear. We have honored more than once a banker like Aditya Puri, who has just stepped down from HDFC Bank and whom The Economist magazine recently rated as the best banker in the world. As the magazine has noted, Mr. Puri has created a bank of greater value than either Citibank or HSBC. We've also honored stalwarts in manufacturing, like the late Brij Mohan Munjal of the Hero Group, A.M. Naik of Larsen & Toubro, and R.C. Bhargav of Maruti. All three have led outstanding companies. In information technology, we have honored the iconic founders of both TCS and Infosys. And this year, we recognize Wipro's founder Azim Premji for lifetime achievement. We made Mukesh Ambani the CEO of the year 3 years ago, anticipating his achievement in transforming Reliance into a age enterprise. We have also honored companies like Titan, who are stars today, but were not so widely recognized when they won our awards. Looking back at the 20 years since these awards were first given in the year 2000, we have mostly chosen well, showcasing India's best and brightest. I'm confident that today's winners will similarly shine in the coming years. These words, I would like to once again thank our juries and congratulate the award winners. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nainen. We will now start our first session of the day with the corporate awards and have a panel discussion with the winners. This will be followed by the Social Excellence Awards and another panel discussion in the second session. The first award today is the Business Standard CEO of the Year.
Bhaskar has really made this company Titan from a very small company to what it is today. It is the number 2 company in the Tata stable with the highest market cap after TCS. So it talks a lot about the person, the way he has built the company. So I thought everybody thought that he deserved the award this year.
Please welcome the Titan of Titans, Mr. Bhaskar Bhatt, former Managing Director of Titan Group. Congratulations, sir. And may I call on Mr. Majumdar again for the fireside chat with Mr. Bhatt. Sir, you're muted.
No, I have unmuted.
Shamil.
Acha, okay. Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
But congratulations from all of us in Business Standard. You were in fact, you won this BA CEO of the Year award for the second time in the last 7 years. That's what we saw.
Yes.
So congratulations, sir, once again.
Thank you. It's a truly proud moment for me.
So we are doing this differently because, you were supposed to be part of the panel discussion, but you have a flight to catch. So we have essentially front-loading the session.
Thank you.
So my first question would be that, your association with Titan started even before the company was set up. And tell us about the remarkable journey in incubating one of the most popular consumer brand from scratch.
Thank you so much. First of all, I must acknowledge with, I don't even want to call it humility, but I'm quite awestruck by the fact that a panel headed by none other than Kumarmangalam Birla chose me to be CEO of the year. I'll start at the end only to establish how I feel about this award. Frankly, it says CEO of the year 1920. I was CEO only for half the year. So very truly, this award represents what the company is all about. It doesn't matter whether I am the CEO or my successor is the CEO of the company, of a company like Titan. So the award really, in a way, I dedicate it to the large number of extraordinary Titanians, today headed by Venkat and at that time headed by me, for this extraordinary recognition. Thank you, Business Standard, for that. Well, I started in '83, and I think a lot is owed to the founder, in a way, of this company, Xerxes Desai. He was the managing director of Tata Press Limited at that time. This project called Tata Watch Project was incubated in Tata Press Limited, and I think the DNA was set at that time, in the sense, printing press knows very little about marketing, consumer marketing especially, nothing about retailing, nothing about manufacturing. Yet, typical of the Tata Group those days, and continues to be so, GRD Tata encouraged Xerxes Desai to go ahead and, fulfill in a way his ambition. So ever since, Titan has been, in a way, a breaker of rules, but not for the sake of breaking rules. It was more for setting, let's say, new standards in unorganized sectors, underpenetrated sectors, underserved sectors. So all the sectors Titan entered, when we entered, they were in that state of, the industry was in that state.
Right. Now, when you took over barely two decades ago, Titan was in dire straits, actually, if I may say so. with high levels of debt, falling sales, shrinking profits. Now that there is an unprecedented economic crisis, what would be your advice to the current Titan management? What was the secret to your success, and some of which we can perhaps replicate in this kind of an extraordinary time?
Well, I must say at that time the crisis was more within the company, not environmentally driven, and it was there were many strengths in the company, and as a management we leveraged the right assets, if we were to call it this day. Two big strengths we had built wonderful brands, which means connection and relationship with the customers, and a great team. So the two things we leveraged was we invested in brands and we invested in people. Today, the same story continues, perhaps much enhanced over the 20 years or 17 and a half years that I was there. All of us were sure that we should build an institution, not just a company, not just a business, not just a economic engine, but an institution. An institution, in our definition, is, or less, at least in our understanding, was a place where people have a sense of belonging and they feel proud about belonging, and they give to the institution and the institution gives back to them. So people are at the core, whether they are consumers or employees or business associates. I think today the company is done exceptionally well, even during COVID times, by actually leveraging that big strength, the company, people coming together and feeling for the company and innovating and getting the business back on track. If you ask me for one secret sauce, it is people.
People. Okay. So we'll come back to Titan once again, but I just wanted to get a sense from you of this economic contraction that has happened, and how will it impact consumer-facing companies like Titan, with the consumption demand really slowing down. There is a sense that things are coming back on track. So do you think the worst is over, or do you think a lingering pain will continue for some more time? What is your perspective?
Yeah, I'll share that with you. I think at the most basic understanding that I have had about India and most people here over the last 20 years and perhaps the next 20, 25, 30 years, there is an aspiration amongst Indian people to better the quality of their life. Now that is a fundamental driver of demand compared to most other countries. I mean, certainly China, which is driven by other factors, the GDP growth. India as an internal consumption driven economy. Therefore, to my mind, and also we are a democracy and so on and so forth. So yes, the COVID has impacted. Nobody can say it is non-serious. It is serious, but the sustainable nature of it, I believe, already Diwali sales. I mean, we can see everywhere things are coming back. It will be slow, but what most companies have done extremely well is compressed cost, conserved cash, and not held back on the one thing that those companies which have done this well, which is not forgetting their consumers, serving their consumers all the time. So a company like Titan and I know we just finished the Trent board meeting. Trent also during the retailers have kept in touch with their customers and have kind of helped them along during the that people don't forget that. Apart from everything else, cost compression, cash conservation, everything else.
So is the worst over? Can we say that?
I believe so. I believe so. We've had the worst. I mean, I can say from the airline perspective, from the retail perspective. I mean, I'm talking about consumer businesses. I believe, I'm hoping and believing that lockdowns will not be reintroduced, although the Western world has reintroduced. The country's gone through pain, and I believe we will begin to live with the virus.
Right. A couple of more questions, Mr. Bhatt. Under you, Titan diversified into several categories like eyewear, even silk sarees. Do you think this will continue, or you stop stretching yourself too thin and consolidate your watch and jewelry segments, especially because of the extraordinary situation that is upon us?
I think this extraordinary situation also throws up opportunities. We should all crises are also opportunities, and I'm not saying it from a mercenary perspective. These are there are Titan has always been a restless company, and exploration has been constant in Titan. There have been many failures in Titan, and perhaps the successes are more visible, the failures have not been so visible. So the company's learned over the years, but exploration continues. During the COVID period, of course, exploration has been not stopped, but decelerated. For example, we did not stop the expansion in the silk sari business. It is no new business has been invested into, but certainly in fact, the company opened its first Tanishq store overseas in Dubai last week. Now, you would not expect the first exploration overseas in COVID times, but it continues to explore.
Right. So my second last question is that if you had a wish list for the government, what do you think the government should do? 1, 2, 3. These 3 points.
That's hardly, that's above my pay grade. That's what they say in the.
You must be having, as an industry leader, you must be having some suggestions that you think the government should look at more. For example, this stimulus, is it too late?
Yeah.
Whatever.
No, we can all have our individual opinions about too late, too little, too late. I think every government has responded in different ways. And the reality of that country's situation is only known to the leaders of that country. I can say today people are critical of Boris Johnson, the second lockdown, etc. I think the leaders knew what they were doing. They did whatever they did. And the distribution of these stimulus packages is a challenge in this country. It is not an easy task. And we can have opinions, but I think the SMEs sector and the daily wage worker, those are a little unexpected reactions, the migrant workers' plight, etc. I believe we can do more, but I think India's nature is one of getting together and solving a problem rather than just leaving it to government. So if I were to say Atmanirbhar, for example, is in the right direction. The reforms in agriculture and the labor reforms, there is a lot of criticism on how it was done, but it was needed, and every industry was waiting for that to happen. This is long term, the right thing to do. So I would say, 19-20 का फर्क है जो करेंगे आप, but सब सही तरीके से हो रहा है.
Finally, I wouldn't hold you for long. I know you have a flight to catch. My final question to you is, Sabat, what is keeping you busy post-retirement? I know you have on the board of Tata Sons and some other Tata companies. Are you also considering to look at, say, venture capital investment, which a lot of people are doing, given that India has a thriving startup ecosystem now?
Not really. Let me, in one sentence, say this. I am here. I have offered myself to help anybody who wants help, whether it's business or otherwise. And I'm not wanting to make a business out of the experience that I've had during my professional career. I continue to be on boards. That will be part of my professional career. But everything else, I have a few personal plans. But on the professional front, it is my experience and knowledge is available. And it's not that I want to expand that into a bigger play.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Bhatt. Thank you.
Thank you all, and congratulations to all the prize winners. And thank you, Mr. Nainan. I was there when you addressed the Tata Group, and I learned one big thing from your speech, sir. Like politicians, business leaders need to have a thick skin, because criticism in the press, you should be able to handle. Thank you so much.
But it's fair.
Sorry?
It is fair criticism, if I may call it.
Whatever it is, sir, everybody has an opinion about criticism. But you have a thick skin. If you are too sensitive, then you react in the wrong way.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Bhatt. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I have to leave.
Thank you so much for making time for this, even from the airport.
Thank you.
The next award is for the Startup of the Year.
There was overwhelming support for the choice of Big Basket as the Startup of the Year. And there were two considerations that went into it. The first one was of market position. In a period of 8 years, Big Basket has grown to become India's largest online grocery firm. And second was innovation. I think they're trying many new things like 2-hour deliveries, the subscription model, private label products.
We have Mr. Hari Menon, Big Basket CEO, with us. Sir, a few words from you.
Thank you, Business Standard. Thank you, a big thank you to the jury for choosing Big Basket as a Startup of the Year. I can't tell you how happy we are, as a company, to be getting this award today. I'm very keen to dedicate this to my entire team, our investors and all our suppliers. But predominantly, there are three sets of people that are very important to us, as a company, to whom I want to really dedicate this award to. And I keep talking about those three sets of. The first is basically our associates, right? The company runs. Associates, I mean really the large 25,000 blue-collar workers that we have, the people who are on the field every day delivering our orders, people who are in our warehouse making sure that the orders are delivered correctly and done in the right way, etc. So we have a large workforce. I hate to use the word blue-collar, but we call them associates, and that's the first group of people that I want to dedicate to the work. Now, the 15,000 odd farmers that we work directly with. Today, fresh produce of fruits and vegetables and grains is a significant portion of our business, and also it is one of the most complex part of our business. And it's with this help of this large network of farmers whom we've worked very, very closely in the last 5-6 years, given us the edge to actually lead and become a significant player in the fresh produce fruits and vegetables game. We have a very strategic piece there. We call it the Farmer Connect program, and we work very closely with them. And finally, of course, our 12 million customers who've got us to where we are today. Once again, thank you to all of them. Thank you, Business Standard. Thank you, jury, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Menon. And now for the Star SME of the Year.
So Vinati Organics was an overwhelming favorite of the jury. To see a company which has had such a a consistent track record in sales growth, 20% compounded sales growth over 3 years, 30% compounded growth in profit over the same period, resulting in a 50% compounded growth in market cap is truly spectacular. The icing on the cake is that it's led by a woman, and we need more role models like her.
May I request Mr. Vinod Saraf, Vinti Organics Chairman, for a few words.
Good afternoon to all of you. We are highly thankful to Business Standard and to the honorable members of the jury for selecting us as a winner for this award of Star SME. We feel extremely honored to receive this prestigious award. This award is dedicated to the entire team of Vinati Organics Limited, who has been continuously working hard to achieve more and more milestones. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saraf. Moving on, the next award is for the Star PSU of the Year.
The reasons for selecting Indraprasth Gas was it's the largest city gas distribution company. One of the areas that they've really done well is on the B2C Connect. They have also grown very well in the new license biddings. They've got 4 new licenses in the new bidding rounds. They've done grown beyond Delhi to NCR. They have acquired a couple of companies which gives them footprint in Lucknow, Kanpur, Pune. And the most important thing is the way they have embraced technology as an organization, that in spite of being in this business, the way they are trying to address consumer needs using analytics, data, and in this environment today where climate is becoming very important, they are really focused on the gas side.
Mr. A.K. Jana, Indraprasth Gas Managing Director, is with us today. Sir, a few words from you, please.
Thank you, Mr. Rajiv. Good evening, everybody. And trust all are safe and healthy. On behalf of the entire team of IGL, Indraprasth Gas Limited, I would like to express my gratitude to BS Awards for considering us for this honor. IGL was formed in 1984 as a joint venture of 2 leading public sector, that is GAIL India Limited and APCL, in accordance to control the environment pollutions in Delhi, particularly the capital of our nation. To do so, basically, this organization has developed more than 15,000 kilometer network and 555 CNG stations. They are catering more than 15 lakhs domestic house supplying the gas for their kitchen. At the same time, around 25 lakhs vehicles are running on CNG. I would like to thank our Ministry, Petroleum and Natural Gas, for their visionary leadership as well as support. At the same time, both the promoters, they have given us the guidance to achieve this target. Above all, my team of IGL, I must tell you one thing, during these pandemic situations, when everybody was not allowed to go out, but our entire team was on the road, they were supplying the gases to the individual kitchens of more than 15 lakh houses. And we were maintaining more than 400 CNG stations in Delhi in operating conditions so as to cater the requirement, because being it is essential goods, we have to keep alive the systems. I humbly accept this award. At the same time, I reiterate our commitment towards improving the quality of life through supplying continuous, contactless, and clean energy solution to the all areas where we are working, as well as we are expanding our network out of Delhi. As Mr. Ganesh was telling, we have now expanded our business or the network in the state of Rajasthan, UP, and Haryana itself. So all put together, today we are around the strength of 725 employees are there. With that, we are catering, you can say, around 30% of the total CGD network in the country. Thank you. Once again, I must tell that the Business Standard has accepted and acknowledged our effort being put towards the journey of country's 5 trillion nation building. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Janna. The next award is for the Business Standard Star MNC of the Year.
MNC of the Year, Nestle. It was a pretty clear choice because of various reasons, not just because of performance, but also how the company bounced back from the crisis a few years ago and has managed to innovate and reinvent itself in the Indian market.
Mr. Suresh Narayanan, Nestle India Chairman and Managing Director, is not with us today, but here's a message from him.
On behalf of Nestle India Limited, its 7,500 plus employees and myself, may I express my sincere gratitude for being the recipient of the Best MNC Award of Business Standard for the year 2019. I'm especially proud for my team for this achievement, which has been judged by a very distinguished panel headed by Mr. Kumaramangalam Birla, having some of the veritable names of Indian industry to make their call and to make the judgment on the best multinational corporation that they have identified. An organization like Nestle, which is old, it is globally 155 years old, more than 108 years old in India, prides itself in a strong culture, in strong purpose, in very resolute values, which is the reason why we are respected as a company, we are valued by our consumers, we have numerous brands that have got an iconic position in the pantheon of brands in this country. And most importantly, we are deeply grateful to the Indian consumer and millions of them for giving us the opportunity to serve them, to serve our best brands, and also in turn to serve the community at large and society at large with the enormous ecosystem that has been created.
And our last award for corporate institutions is the Business Standard Company of the Year.
A year like this, you have to look for somebody who has contributed hugely towards the building of the country, somebody who has contributed to jobs, somebody who has contributed to export earnings, and most importantly, I think a company that has developed its business model on sustainability and real governance topics. And I think no one stands out better than L&T in that respect.
Mr. S.N. Subramanian, Larsen & Toubro CEO and Managing Director, could not be here today due to a late exigency, but he quickly recorded and sent us this message last night.
Foremost, thank Business Standard, the eminent panel of jury, and all the well-wishers who have selected Larsen & Toubro for the Business Company of the Year award. Really humbled, thankful to all of you for choosing us for this prestigious and much sought after award. I thank Business Standard and its leadership for conducting this session of awards even during this pandemic times in a virtual manner. I did promise Mr. Shaman that I would attend this conference, but due to a business exigency which is unprecedented, I had to be not available this time. At the same time, I thank all of you for having given the company this award and given me this opportunity to address you in this particular manner. Thank you very much.
We will now move on to the individual awards, and this one is for the Banker of the Year. Mr. Ghosh, congratulations. A few words from you, please.
I would like to thank you, the jury members and the editorial leadership of Business Standard, to considering me to give this award, Business Standard Banker of the Year. I would also like to congratulate all the other award winners of the day. Bandhan Bank has started 5 years before, and with a 70 lakhs of the customer. After the 5 years, now we are reached to the 2 crore 8 lakhs customers. And these all the customers are 60% in the bottom of the pyramid and women. So I feel proud of the support to this bank to reach this position. And it has been helped us to reach the bank, the deposit 66,000 crores, and advance has come 76,000 crores with network of 4,700 across the country, 34 states and union territory. So I feel that the award of Banker of the Year, this achievement would not have been possible without the restless service of my staff, 45,500 people working in the bank. I am received this award on behalf of these 45,500 employees and the customer 2 crore 8 lakhs. I like to mention in here, my staff has been so much committed in the time of COVID situation also. They are coming forward to give the service to the customer, not in the office, even also doorstep service on that. We will be like to wish this award ceremony will be success. Once again, I thank you for the recognition and look forward to this evening discussion. Thank you again to Business Standard and jury for this award to me.
Thank you, sir. The next award is for a lifetime of leadership and philanthropy.
Wipro itself has been a huge success, but other than that, it's just the sheer impact that he has made through his philanthropy, for example. That was a huge factor that went in his favor. Also the fact that he's always been known for very high standards of governance.
Mr. Premji is not here today, but he graciously sent us this picture with the award trophy and a message.
Thank you very much for bestowing this honor on me. On every such occasion, I feel very strongly that such recognition and honor are well and truly for the tireless dedication of thousands of my colleagues and partners, both at Wipro and at the Foundation. Thank you once again, and I wish you all the very best.
Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the corporate awards. May I now request Mr. Shamil Majumdar for a panel discussion with the winners.
Hi, good afternoon once again. We have with us 4 of the winners for the BS Awards for Corporate Excellence, and we'll discuss with them what the future holds for India Inc. We have as panelists Bandhan Bank MD and CEO C.S. Ghosh, Big Basket CEO Hari Menon, Indraprastha Gas MD and CEO A.K. Jana, and Vinati Organics MD and CEO Vinati Saraf Mutreja as part of the panel. Now, just to put the discussions in context, overall things are evidently looking up. For the first time since the lockdown, GST collections has crossed 1 trillion mark. PMI manufacturing has climbed to its highest level since 2007. Sales data monthly for the auto sector and fuel consumption is also encouraging. So has the cycle turned? Some say some of these frequently used indicators like auto sales have an upper income bias and the distress is still widespread. So is it just pent up demand and festive season push? Is this sustainable in post-festival months? Because margins, they're improving, but due to sharp cuts in cost, but after a point of time, it becomes a zero-sum game. So there are two totally different opinions about the economic pain and the turnaround. So let's hear it from the panelists. I would now request all the panelists to first respond to this broad question of what is your sense of the economic contraction and how do you think it will impact companies like yours? How long will the economic pain last, or is the worst over? To start with, I'd go with Mr. Hari Menon. Mr. Menon?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was on mute.
Yeah.
Thanks, Amal. I must just start with by saying that we've had a tremendous growth that we've seen right through COVID, actually, right through the pandemic. That's because we are part of the Essentials program, and we've seen some tremendous growth. In fact, we've nearly doubled and stuff. The important thing to talk about is that to answer your question on how sustainable this is, and let me just address it. One is from our own perspective, right? We see this growth very, very sustainable, right? And the reason I'm saying this is that we've been tracking this very closely and not just getting happy and satisfied by what we saw between April and July. We were really tracking it post that, and we were trying to see what has happened when all these unlocks have happened, when things have started opening up and people have had options available to them to kind of go back to what they were doing earlier. What we've realized is that people are staying on the platform, tailwinds continue, the demand is really, really strong. Most importantly, we are seeing retention cohorts, which we actually track very, very closely, almost being 50% higher than what it used to be earlier. So people are actually staying on the platform, continue to buy more, and we are and we're continuing to see that trend. So that's basically fundamentally from our business. Overall, my own view is that I think things are opening up and things are getting better. I'm seeing multiple sectors that are starting to see traction. It is slow, and it was expected to be slow. I really didn't think that we would see things opening up this early. My own view was that you'll start seeing things that we're seeing today only around January to March, that quarter. But I think the whole thing has got advanced, and I'm seeing really people. If I go to restaurants, I walk around, I see people are actually starting to get back to normalcy. People are starting to believe that we should live with this virus, and that's a great thing. And I think the fact that the country has taken a very bold decision of saying we don't need to get into lockdowns anymore. We need to start opening up. We need to start living with this pandemic, living with this issue. While the government does its bit in terms of making sure that healthcare, etc., is starting to scale up, I think it's very, very bold and did it early enough. I think the lockdown was also a very bold decision and did it early, and we caught it at the right time. So to me, I think we are seeing things opening. I believe it's happened a quarter earlier. And I think we will see this accelerating going forward.
Right. So, just another question on Big Basket. So, where do you see Big Basket really in the next couple of years down the line? Because I'm asking this in the context of recent news flow that has been coming. Do you think the company would continue independently as it is today, or end up becoming part of a larger conglomerate, which is becoming the trend forward for others as well? So as an entrepreneur, would you consider that as your success?
Yeah, no, the company just continues, the way it is. We don't know what, we are actually in conversations with, with quite a few people. There are a lot of things happening on that front. But one thing is very clear that, the path chosen by Big Basket continues. So anything that happens is business as usual. And we just keep scaling, the way we are right now. And that's for certain. Now, what will happen in terms of where do we belong to and where it will go is only a financial arrangement, right? And and what will happen eventually is that the company has its own path. We had started by telling ourselves we must be the top three, one amongst the top three grocers in the country. I think that we are getting very, very close to that. That's our stated goal in 2011 when we started. And when I say top three, I'm talking about all grocery, right? It's not just online. Online, we of course lead that space, and we're getting there. We've just crossed the $1 billion mark. We've built multiple businesses right now to make sure that we cater to consumers in the grocery space. We just essentially, it's business as usual.
So the pandemic, in a sense, has given a lot of momentum to the business that you are in.
Tremendous momentum, Shaman. Tremendous momentum. And it has not just given us momentum. It has made the business completely profitable. A lot of things that were to happen between 15 to 18 months from now has happened now, right? So we pretty much advanced 15 to 18 months of our life, to now, both in terms of growth, in terms of top line, as well as bottom line profitability. So there's lots that happened, and there was so much we innovated during this period. Built a very resilient organization, lot of great things, and I think we are in great shape now. Just take off from here.
Right. Okay, we'll come back to you. Let me now go to Ms. Mutreja, Vinati Organics. The same question that I asked, to Mr. Menon as well. How has the economic contraction, how painful has it been? And what's your projection going forward? You're in the SME segment. So SME as a sector went through a huge pain and is still continuing. So how has Vinati the state of play in your company?
Thank you, Mr. Majumdar. First, let me just briefly explain the business that we are into. Now, we make specialty chemicals which are used in various sectors like pharmaceutical, water treatment, oil and gas, agrochemicals, etc. We export mostly. About 75% of our turnover comes from exports. So we as a company actually have done quite okay during the pandemic. Other than the 2 week of shutdown, which was initially announced during the lockdown, we were able to restart our plants fairly quickly because of being essential services, since our products go into pharma, agro, etc. We didn't face any labor issues because most of our labor is local. Our demand was also not impacted. In fact, pharma segment has been the ever highest the past 6 months, mostly because of panic buying also and stocking up. Agrochemical segment has remained fairly stable. The oil and gas segment, where one of our product goes into, that has been down, of course, as travel has reduced. That's down about 30%. On the whole, the last 6 months, our sales have been down only about 10%, 10 to 15%. And we expect to close the year also around that. In fact, we see sales picking up starting October, November across segments. We are adding new products, the projects which we had invested in last year. There was a delay in startup because of the pandemic these 6 months, but we are starting those projects now in October, November, and we will see more sales coming in Q4 from these new products. So our company generally is almost at par with how we performed in FY20, maybe 10% lower. Now, again, coming to SME segments, it depends what your products are used in. And similarly, I can speak for chemicals also. If you're making chemicals for the automotive segment, then yes, you are in pain. But if you're making chemicals for agro, pharma, you are okay during the pandemic. So it just depends.
Right. But your exports must have been affected during the the pandemic period.
Not much. See, again, our export means it's going for pharmaceutical industry. That's where the stocking up was happening from
Right.
China, Europe. It's used in water treatment. It's used in personal care. So they were not affected at all, except the oil and gas segment. So it depends on the segment, not where the demand is.
Right. I understand. Okay. We'll come back to you, Shreya. Now let's move to Mr. Jana. Mr. Jana, this point is that ideal, as far as I remember, because of the pandemic under lockdown, it meant a nearly 80% impact on your trading volumes and also a change in the consumption pattern. Have you retrieved most of it, or is the pain still continuing?
Yeah, Mr. Majumdar, I'm happy to tell you that we could come back to around 90 to 95% sales volume, what we used to achieve pre-COVID, basically. Now, during the lockdown and unlocking period also, the consumption, there are four sectors in the city gas distribution normally. One is your domestic, and the second one is your transportation sector, and the another two is the industrial and commercial.
Right.
In the domestic sector, what we have observed, since the restaurants and hotels are closed, so consumption itself had gone more than even 100%. So people are cooking the food, probably they are cooking more food than what normally they used to do. So as a result, the consumption has gone even up to 30% more before the pre-COVID, what we used to get basically. And of course, as you said rightly, that the transport, industrial and commercial, they had gone down to 20% level. And today, the industry has come back to even around 100%. The transport sector, I must say that it has come back to around 90%. And even though there's one major sector, basically, if you see that, the institutions and the school, as well as the international flights, no, it has not come back. As a result, that the passengers commuting to those areas and the school buses are not flying. Because of that, we used to sell around 20-25% volume. The CNG volume used to be from that sector. It has not come up. In spite of that, it has gone more than even if I say that 20%, it should have been 80%, but it is coming around 90%. It is just because of two things. Because of social distancing, in the buses, probably the more flying, basically frequency has increased to cater the requirement, number one. Number two, people are preferring not to travel by the public transport. They are preferring their own car, basically. And when you are going by your own car, people definitely prefer the most economical vehicle. That is you can say it is the CNG vehicle, which is giving you more than 50 to 60% saving as against the diesel and petrol.
Right.
So as a result, the consumption in that particular sector has gone up. And the commercial sector, one more thing is that what we have observed before pre-COVID, there was every month around 5,000 new CNG car used to be there on the road, basically through the registrations. And today we have observed it is going up to 8,000, and we are expecting it would be around 10,000 per month when conversion would be there. Few years of factory fitted, and people, all the manufacturers, we are having the discussion with the manufacturer. We are coming out with various schemes also. As a result, the more varieties, variants, vehicles are also there in the market, and at the same time, the second-hand car, people are buying, and either we are working with the manufacturer, those who are having the true value system. We are working with them to give some schemes so as that they can convert their by putting the kit itself, so the people would be attracted for that particular CNG. So what I can see that we have reached Q3. I think that I'll be in the normal, completely at the normalcy. And the Q4, I'm expecting it would be more than that. We won't be able to make up what we have lost in the first quarter, but we will be very close to that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So to what extent have your capex plans been impacted, Mr. Jana, because of the COVID?
You see, the people are more keen to get today, and in fact, in the review in the ministry also, what had happened, people are more keen to get the domestic connections done at their home, as because nobody wants to take the cylinder because of the contact. So this gas is basically a continuous supply as well as contactless. So people are preferring this. I know I can give you the example that last 20 years, we had connected around 9 lakh houses and all put together NCR 15 lakhs. Now we had a plan to connect this year only more than 3 lakh houses are to be connected. So as regard, and 1 lakh we have achieved already. So another 2 lakhs we are targeting in this year. So what there will not be, we had a plan of investing around, the capex investment is around 1200 crores. We would be very close to that.
Right.
We'll be very close to that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Jana. We'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Mr. Ghosh.
Yes.
Tell us, Mr. Ghosh, about this stupendous journey of your bank. I'm told that, and you have also been on record, that the 20 lakh loan that you got from SIDBI way back in 2002, now it overshadows even momentous events like getting a bank license, and So tell us about this journey about Bandhan Bank.
So thank you, Shamolda, given these opportunities. Actually, you have been raised my very root. And it is a very different which you given the award now. I was not in a banker. I started a NGO, and I learned from the market, daily market. Some person is coming to this daily market to give the 500 rupees to vegetable sellers and fish sellers and collect 5 rupees upfront. And evening again collect the 500 rupees. I asked them why you are paying 700% interest. And every people say that no 700%, is a 5 rupees. I realized about it, people are not calculate the interest rate. They are counting on that the 5 rupees. And when I details are going on that, they say that who will give us? We have not any security, we have not any documents, we have not guarantor. So I will be take this money from them. That is the initiative I have been taken. Why not I can be start the NGO for their development and taken the loan from the bank, and we will be give to them even 30%. Then also they can be net earned 700%. So that is the journey have been started, and SIDBI that time has given that 20 lakhs rupees as a loan, as an experiment. And after that, all bank has come to funding to us on that. And 2005-06, we are converted as NBFC.
Right.
2009, there is a big crisis has come to the Andhra Pradesh. And people say that the microcredit is charging high interest to the customer. But it is not that much true on that, because they are reaching to the customer to given the loan and collect from the house, cost is high. And I say that what is the factor I can be like to reduce the rate on that? And then I have been analyzing that my balance sheet, because I saw that in the every 2 to 3 years from the beginning, I reduce the interest rate voluntarily. But why not further? What can I do? And then I have been find out on that my total cost of lending, 2/3 will be I'll pay to the bank to borrow the money. 1/3 is operational cost, which is 2/3 out of this operational cost is an HR cost. And 1/3 I have been as administrative cost, very simple office, 1 room, 1 table, 9 plastic chair, 1 fan and 1 tube light. And my staff is using bicycle. How much I can be like to reduce? I cannot reduce on that. And then I talk to the regulator, can they permit me to give a permission? I can be take the deposit from the public, which can be reduced my cost of fund. And they say that without bank, you cannot get it. And then opportunities had come 2010, and I apply for a bank license. Every of my industry people are laughing and talking, I am in a mad. How the microfinance organization are asking the bank license. And when I get this bank license, so that have been helped me to reduce the lending rate, because my deposit has come, 5% my deposit cost has come down, that is the cost of fund has come down. I have been passed on 4.5% reduced to my microcredit customer. So this is a journey from the NGO to bank. And I have been given this, the employment 4,500 people, and 5,000 people we already recruited in this COVID situation last 6 months. It's a big opportunities to create the employment also, side by side, give the financial service to the people who are not getting the access of the formal institution credit. This is a journey for me, and you are recognized as a banker. I feel proud on that. I'm banker now.
Yeah, it's been great. Mr. Ghosh, this, the collection efficiency of the banking sector in general, even NBFCs, and, it has improved really. Now they're talking about 90 to 95% collection efficiency. So how do you think, even Bandhan Bank has shown remarkable figures. How do you think the banks and the NBFC sector, which is suddenly so quickly regrouped itself, on this collection efficiency? Tell us about the Bandhan Bank's experiment on this experience.
If I see that in the ground level, the people have the business is running, they have need the money, and they should be like to repay the installment. Otherwise, they also know that they cannot get the money on that. And this type of people is specifically in Bandhan, what are my customer, they are 95% involved in a livelihood business, which is very much the essential goods and services for the people. And that is the pandemic situation also, they are the running the business on that. So that when it has been open, the lockdown is open in a June, within a month, the collection efficiency has come 68% on that. So that is a very surprised has given the people, no, I like to give to money return back to you. And within this, another next quarter, this quarter has come, and you are correctly mentioned on that in our bank, 95% of my customer are started the repaying the installment on that. And whatever that we are always see that in the first 2 quarters of the year, that there is no credit growth. There is no demand of the credit that much. It always is there. And the next 2 quarters as coming the credit growth. And it will be start always before the puja is a eastern region. If you say the total country, before the Diwali festival, the credit growth have been started on that. But we've seen that in this year, very fear about it. Maybe the credit growth will not come that much. 95% credit growth has come compared to the last year in the puja time. So in that sense, they see that the demand is increasing from the customer level. So that automatically repayment will coming on that. I given the one example day before yesterday. You know that there is all train are not running now. And the one train have been running for railway employees is coming to the Calcutta. And we saw that many of the people on the road in the rural, name is a Baddavati, and they are shouting on that, you can start the train. We cannot be restricted ourselves in the home. We have need the business running. If we need the business running, we have need the train. You see that the demand is coming from the public. So how they are asking that the opportunities, they can be run their business. So that is an opportunities of the credit growth and the repayment growth. It is a link of both on that. I hope that the next 1 quarter, it will become to the pre-COVID situation. As per my bank, I feel that.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Mr. Ghosh. Now, like Bandhan Bank, even Vinati Organics has a great story to tell. Mutreja, as far as I know, whatever is public knowledge, that your father, Mr. Vinod Saraf, invested his entire personal savings and in fact took personal loan to make IBB, which is, I think, a raw material to make ibuprofen. Now today you have 65 to 70% share of that product in the global market. Is that correct? Tell us about this story.
Yeah, thanks. Sure, Mr. Majumdar, you're absolutely right. My father was a professional. He used to work at Aditya Birla Group before he started Vinati Organics, and he came across this project to make isobutyl benzene, which back then was imported into our country, and it's the main raw material to make ibuprofen. Yes, you're right. He put in all his savings. He took a loan from ICICI Bank. He listed the company at face value in 1990, and that's how he raised capital. In fact, the Maharashtra state government the project was actually started by then, and they were looking for a partner with sweat equity. So he himself had very little equity back then in 1990. Over time, he grew the business. We started with a small producer of IBB, became the largest in the world. Today, you're absolutely right. We have 65% market share. Producers in US, UK have shut down. In fact, even in China, they have stopped producing this product, and we are exporting this product to all these countries simply based on the high operational efficiency levels that we were able to achieve. Also, the quality levels. We were just the lowest cost manufacturer for that product. And then we diversified into various other products. Today, IBB accounts for less than 20% of our revenue. Our other product, ATBS, which we started in 2002 and really only started producing large scale in 2006. We are the only manufacturer in India and also the largest manufacturer in the world. Right. Again, for that product, we have about 65% market share, and so on for a third product and the new set of products that we're adding. Again, we will be the only manufacturers in India. So our focus has been on niche specialty chemicals with patented technologies. That is what that's how there's barrier to entry, and that's what gives us the edge and the high margin products.
So is your investment philosophy is what? No investment in any project that does not offer a 15% ROI. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. 15% ROI is the basic that we aim for. Usually we end up getting more because we also look at synergies. Like we started making ATBS, then we backward integrated into its raw materials, started making isobutylene, which we were importing for Europe. And now from isobutylene, we are going to make 5 different types of butyl phenols. So that reduces the investment also, and also gives us higher ROIs.
Right. Okay, I think we don't have much time. Just a couple of questions for Mr. Menon first. So Menon, you are, this Big Basket is your third entrepreneurial venture. So I know your first attempt to start a online-based grocery company did not click. And then you moved temporarily to a corporate leadership role in the private group. So now you seem to have hit the jackpot with Big Basket. After the first experience, which didn't really work out, what was the mantra for the success of Big Basket? How did you get the formula right? Hello?
Sorry. The first part of the business had actually 2 parts. One was the online part, which was called FabMart, which eventually became India Skills, and that's what didn't kind of take off. But there was a second part to that, which was building a physical chain of grocery stores, and that actually, when we did that pivot in 2000, set up a chain of grocery stores, which was called Fab Mall. Then that company merged with a large chain in Andhra Pradesh called Trinetra, and we ran that combined entity for about 3-4 years. And in 2007, we sold that business 100% to the Aditya Birla Group, and those are the stores that you see as more now. So that was the good part of the first journey, because the online business was not ready. So the online piece is the one that actually told us what is it that you really need essentially to make sure that businesses succeed. And one of the key learnings that we had at that point in time was essentially the making sure that you have the right and the correct ecosystem to run the business. And let me tell you what that meant. When we started an online business in 99, the business was running on basically dial-up lines. There wasn't even broadband available, at that point in time. And literally, things were so slow that by the time the page loaded, you could have a cup of tea and come back. So those were the conditions in which we were trying to set up an online business. We didn't have enough of logistics networks. Technology was just about starting to get ready. You won't believe it that there was not a single payment gateway. And running an online business without having a payment gateway available, was something that you couldn't even think of. So the ecosystem to me was the key driver for us to actually see BigBasket succeeding. Because when we came back in 2011, same set of people to come and start BigBasket. One of the key dipsticks for us is your ecosystem ready? And that's the time when we realized that everything that we had to tick boxes on was ticked actually, because we had broadband coming in, we had smartphones, we had tablets, we had the ecosystem available for logistics, and all this was thanks to Flipkart, which had set up in around 2006-7, and by 2011 they were actually seeing serious transactions. So the real dipstick for us was that, are there enough customers transacting online? It wasn't enough just using email. It wasn't just enough using WhatsApp or using communication tools. But were people transacting online? And what we saw was there was enough people transacting, and that was our first and only dipstick. And to me, getting the environment and the ecosystem right when you start a business is the single biggest factor that makes sure that business works or not. And that was what drove us. And so when we started in 2011, typically what we actually achieved in some 5.5 months or 4.5 months, if I remember right, it took us almost 3 years in the first journey to achieve in terms of just numbers. And that was what the ecosystem gave us in terms of acceleration.
Right. You are also one of the few new age companies, which has co-founders who come from diverse background and expertise, and all of you are very active in day-to-day activities. So can you give us some idea on how has the company split the work among the co-founders and how helpful it has been?
We've known each other for very long, actually. Probably longer than we've known our wives, and so that goes back to us working together in companies like TVS Electronics, and so we knew each other very well, right? And we knew what each of us brings to the table. So the way we actually split ourselves is based on what each of us like to do and want to do. So for example, I look after the entire merchandising and category management, and also look after the people function. My other colleague Vipul is the person who looks after marketing, and that's something that he's always liked doing all his life. And a third colleague, Sudhakar, essentially looks after all processes for operations and technology. So we've just split ourselves based on what we like doing and what we were interested in doing all along. But the key thing that really keeps us going is and what I tell all founders and co-founders who come and meet me and tell me what should be the number of co-founders we should have, what should be the size of the team, etc., is that the critical thing there is trust. And and that's something that, because of having known each other for such a long time, we've built amongst ourselves, and that's what's helped us do what we have to do individually in the company without worrying about the other person, because we know that we are all together in it.
Right. Okay, I think we are really running out of time now. One last question to Mr. Jana. Mr. Jana, the city gas distribution companies will face heated competition from third parties with this PNGRB notifying the regulations to allow competition. I think you had challenged the proposal by the PNGRB to end this your marketing exclusivity in the Delhi High Court. Can you tell us what would the competition mean for a company like IGL?
Yeah,
I don't know whether you got the question.
Yeah, I got the question. Yes, Mr. Mukherjee, this is the part of reforms basically. When the act was formed, that itself, it was saying that after a certain period, the exclusivity would be over and the common carrier concept would be coming to the system. No, this is basically, it has got both the sides. No, it is threat to your inside the GA, but it gives the opportunity to work in other GA also. IGL being a pioneer at the same time is the most largest CGD entity today, having so much experience, rich experience, and handling the customer directly. Retail experience per se the city gas distribution is the real retail business. No, the end customer is getting the bill from me. It's not from through dealer system like LPG and petrol and diesel. There is a dealer concept is there. But here directly we are selling it to the customers. Direct contact is with the customer. Their problem is basically directly transferred to up to the level of MD and DC. So we are connected to the individual customers, number one. Number two, if you see that the business, what you are saying that if some third party would be coming, there is a restrictions basically itself in the act that the common carrier concept, they would be getting 20% carrier basically in our existing infrastructures. If anybody wants to go beyond 20%, they would be asking us to lay the infrastructure, because infrastructure exclusivity there would be there with us all the 25 years is there. So as a result, even it will be down by 20% if I saw that if it goes to that level. But I'll be getting transportation charges, I'll be getting compression charges, and the third party, whoever is going to do this business, they will take long time to establish their system, the relationship with the customers, the faith with the trust with the customer, what we have gained over 20 years. At the same time, what I say that the opportunity, since I do have the rich experience in this particular field, so I will be able to go to some other cities where nothing is going on, exclusivity is over, including the infrastructure exclusivity over. We can think of going there beyond the marketing exclusivity, even the infrastructure exclusivity also. So it is both the things are there, but one thing is there are various issues are there with the PNGRB. At the same time, PNGRB is not supposed to see the interest of the end customer only. The infrastructure created by an entity who has invested a lot, if sufficient return, if it is not coming, no, it's not going to be whatever the decision is going to be taken today by PNGRB, not looking at IGL, MGL. It has to see, it will see that the other entities also, those who have taken the authorizations, just merely putting 1 paisa per MMB2 transportation charges, and their exclusivity is restricted to the 5 years only. Probably most of the entity, they are going to basically exhausted that particular exclusivity period. Now just think on it, 1 rupee, 1 paisa per MMB2, how much revenue he is going to earn. At the same time, that particular entity, laying the infrastructure beneath the city, basically putting a city on a frying pan, the entire city would be with the gas. So he would be requiring sufficient revenue to maintain the safety hazards, and all these things would be there. What I see that definitely PNGRB is going to look into that particular aspect, that definitely the return is to be ensured for individual entities, where minimum return has to be ensured. So looking into that, I don't foresee any threat to my IGL. Thank you very much.
Good, thank you. So just one last, just one liner from each one of you is, now that this pandemic, the rebound is happening, what would be the wish list? The question I asked Mr. Bhatt as well. What would be on top of your wish list? If you just give us one sentence each, please, all of you. Mr. Ghosh, to start with you.
Yes, I feel that the people will be not forget about it, the pandemic situation. They will be careful with their mask and maintaining the distance, and also simultaneously they will be run their business. So for business, they cannot be like to remove other two.
So you have nothing to ask for from the government?
Government is whatever they have been done on that. I feel that very good. And they also time to time given whatever need on that. Overall, if I say that, if you can ask specifically on that, the Indian future growth is coming from rural. But till now, focusing from the government and others are less focused in the rural. I give this the only 11% bank branch in rural, where 70% are people living in there. So that is a need to focus on that, how the people will go, or bank will go to that rural, and right, people will get the access on that. That is my, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Mutreya.
For the government, reduce interest rates and invest more in infrastructure, as that will encourage Spain and countries outside to invest more in our country.
Yeah, Mr. Jana.
See, this in this pandemic situations, I can share only the 4W. No, the work, workplace, then work culture and workforce. Now, the work, which can be divided into two parts, which can be done online, but certain jobs are required to be done. For me, the project has to be done at a site only. So for which I have to have that proper workplaces to be created. No, and those who are going, suppose if I am coming to your house, I should have the proper kit. Otherwise, you are not going to allow me to enter into your kitchen to set up the meters and all these things are there. So people has to be trained and cultured because we don't know when this is going to be over. So it is not known to us. And the second thing is the workforce. You know, the what this in this particular pandemic situation, I personally has learned one particular thing. This is the migrant labor. You know, our main job today. You see, out of this total budget for us is around 2,000 crores, out of which 12 to 1,500 crores towards project. And these projects are being executed by the migrant laborers. We never paid much attention to those migrant labor. Now today we are very focusing through, though they are through our contractor. So we are asking the contractor. We are working together with the contractor. Whatever the best, basically minimum bare minimum things should be given, because they are, if they are not protected, then we are also not protected. So that is more learning for me. And every time we should not go to government asking so many things. We are supposed to be we are a part of government. We as a private, we as a government entity, we should work in support with the government, basically. Thank you very much.
Sure. Mr. Menon, last word from you.
I have just one single thing, which is I think the focus should be on job creation. That's the single biggest thing that's important to us right now as we come out of the pandemic. Investments in infrastructure, investments in projects, everything leading to job creation should be the single biggest focus.
Right, great. Thank you all very much. And we are now coming to an end to the first session of the panel discussion. Thanks to all the panelists. I think the takeaway points are that there is a lot of optimism now, and people, all of you think that from here on the worst seems to be over, and unless there is another second wave, etc. And that is one part of it. I think some of you had fascinating stories to tell about your background. The way I think Mr. Ghosh talked about it, Sutraja talked about it, Hari, you yourself talked about it. I think there are a lot of takeaways for the listeners, I think. Thank you again, once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Over to Manish.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Majumdar, and thank you to all the panelists. Your stories, your outlook for the future, your wishes from the government. These insights will stay with us. We'll now take a short break and return with our Social Excellence Awards. These winners have touched and transformed lives, literally of millions. See you in just a few minutes.
He's moving from employee to employer. Business Standard.
Welcome back, everyone. And may I again invite Mr. Shamil Majumdar for his note on the Social Excellence Awards.
Yeah. Good evening. Once again, a very warm welcome to all of you to this special webinar on Business Standard Annual Awards for Social Excellence this time. Thank you all who are watching the webinar to honor the achievements of a few outstanding individuals and organizations who are doing outstanding work in giving back to the society. We are indeed grateful to the three distinguished panelists, all award winners, for taking time off their busy schedule to share their thoughts with us. The Business Standard Awards for Social Excellence was instituted to recognize key initiatives taken by corporates, enterprises, and individual entrepreneurs to create meaningful changes in society. The awards have always managed to attract some of the best names in the sector. The awards are also an outcome of rigorous analysis of their performance judged under several parameters. The preliminary analysis was done by Deloitte, our partner to the awards, who drew up the list of entries and presented their case to the jury. This data was then refined and enriched by qualitative assessments made by the jury, comprising some of the most distinguished names of Indian industry and social enterprise. After Deloitte presented the first set of numbers, the jury took over. It was headed by Mr. S. Ramadurai, Chairman, Tata Institute of Social Sciences. The other members of the jury were Give India Director and CEO Atul Satija, Bain Capital Private Equity Chairman Amit Chandra, Pratham co-founder Farida Lambe, and Indian School of Public Policy founder director Louis Miranda. Jury Chairman Ramadurai said after the selection that the outcome, and I quote, the outcome measures for choosing the winners were absolutely critical. In the end, it was the jury's conviction that the impact must be seen and felt that helped identify the winners of the year. We are grateful to the jury for the effort they took in making sure that the right people and institutions get the award. Congratulations once again to all the three award winners. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Majumdar. As we announce the awards, we have the jury chairman, Mr. Ramadurai's remarks on why each winner won. Our first award in this category is for the Socially Aware Corporate of the Year.
The critical evaluation revolved around outcome and impact measures, gender diversity, rural impact, rural presence, and the scalability for the future. And that's how we chose L&T Financial Services in this category.
May I request Mr. Dinanath Dubashi, L&T Finance Holdings Managing Director and CEO, for a few words.
Thank you very much. Thanks the jury, Mr. Ramadurai, the chairman, for his very kind words, as we heard, and of course Business Standard for this award, which I accept with great humility on behalf of my entire staff. I must also thank the 22,000 people of L&T Financial Services, literally putting their life at risk every day as they do business today in this situation on the ground. In fact, I must say that people in head office, including myself, started coming to office only because we didn't feel that we are justified sitting at home and working from home when 22,000 of these people are literally risking their lives. So I thank them for motivating us to get out of home and come to office. Sustainability is very core to our business, and that perhaps is the reason why the jury kindly chose us. It comes even in the choice of businesses that we do. We are the largest financer of renewable energy in this country. Our large part of our business is in rural India. We fund employment generation in rural India, and that makes sustainability a very integral part of business, more than just limited to CSR or social responsibility. We believe should be integral part of business and not just 2% of budget or profit as CSR. We believe that there should be some main criteria. One is that it should be scalable, whatever we do. As Mr. Ramadurai said, it should make an impact. And most important, the only reason that it remains sustainable, if it is closely related to business, then it just is it grows on its own. This particular program, Digital Sakhi, which has been chosen for this award, does all that, but achieves something which is very important, which is SDG 5, which is gender equality. And how does it do that? And that is very important. In various terms it does that. So Digital Sakhi basically is we train a few women in rural India in financial literacy, give her a tablet and teach her basically how to carry out digital transaction, also train her in certain sustainable means of livelihood,
and we pay her a honorarium, and she is supposed to go and onboard many other people. Her target is normally about 1,000 people, so 1,000 women. In the short term, it definitely increases knowledge and develops certain skills, people. In the medium term, use of banking products increases in rural India. In the longer term, savings increase or digital transactions increase. But for me, and after meeting some of these Sakhis and some of the beneficiaries, I think something that touches the heart and what makes us put our entire energy here is it makes rural women confident and independent. Women who are not able to get out of the house or even today stay in Pallus. I mean, we know of case studies which are women who are engineers and married in a rural household, have not come off the house since marriage. And these, after doing this program and after being a beneficiary of this program, have not only come out, the program is just an excuse, but have started working as, outside with their head held high. So we believe that lot more needs to be done. We will continue to do that. And for us, this confidence that Business Standard and the jury has put on us is, we are extremely grateful for that, and it gives us a lot of confidence to go ahead. Thank you once again. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, and congratulations again. The next award is for the Social Enterprise or NGO of the Year.
The lives of whether they are children, adults or old age people had to be supported, and the outcomes had to be very clearly understood. The St. Jude's Childcare Centers came out as a winner in this category, and some of us have seen the impact they have created through their work.
We have Mr. Nihal Kaviratne, CBE, founder of St. Jude India Childcare Centers with us today. Sir, a few words from you.
My gratitude to the Business Standard and to the jury. You would expect me to say that I'm honored to receive this award on behalf of members of our team. And of course, that is what I would say, because without the talented professionalism and the dedicated passion of our team, of close to now 400 volunteers and staff across India, none of our achievements would have been possible. During these extraordinary last 7 months, while everything around us was locking down, we have kept open and kept running, because cancer doesn't stop, and neither do we. I also accept this award on behalf of 4 others. First, my wife Shama, who co-founded St. Jude's and has contributed far more than I have to this work. Second, our 316 sponsors and donors. Everything we give and provide is free, and it would not have been possible or enabled without these sponsors and donors. And then, perhaps most importantly, the 21 hospitals and doctors whom we serve, who've been tireless in their devotion to saving the lives of our kids. And lastly, to the courage of the parents and kids from needy families in small towns and villages across India, who bring their children in for treatment in the big cities and place their faith in us and have made our journey worthwhile. On behalf of all of them, I thank you for this award.
Thank you, sir. Our last award in the Social Excellence category and the final award for the day is the Business Standard Social Entrepreneur of the Year.
The amount of great work that is happening in this country through individuals who have done selfless work for the last 20, 30 years without any worries and determination to succeed and make a difference was a very clear parameter. In spite of all the names, since we had to come up with a single name for this year, which makes an impact was KRS Mr. Madhavan. And we believe the kind of work they are doing for legislative outcomes, parliamentary outcomes, through debates, through understanding of the bill is what made the choice finally.
Congratulations, Mr. Madhavan. A few words from you, please.
Thank you. Thank you for this. Thank you, Business Standard. Thank you for the jury to recognize our work. And this is quite a pretty looking piece of art. So thanks for this. I just wanted to spend a minute or so, a quick word on what we do and why we do it. The idea is that there is a lot of research which says that institutions are what actually lead to national growth and national prosperity. And from a democratic point of view, for our democracy, the institutions at the core of it are our parliament and at the states, all the state legislatures. So what do? They make all the laws that apply to all of us. They make sure that the government is working properly. And they also allocate all the public funds, all the tax money judiciously. At least this is what they're expected to do. And to do this in an effective way, they would need, the MPs and the MLAs would need good quality research so that they can take evidence-based informed decisions and use that in the mix of the decision making. So what we do is to help support this process by researching on the various issues that come up before Parliament, before state assemblies, and helping our representatives understand the nuances, understand the various issues there, and figure out what is the best way forward. And of course, it is their job to figure out what is the best way forward. Our job is to provide them with the background research. So that's what we do. As we do this, I mean, and thanks again for the award. We have been doing this for about 15 years, and I have to thank a number of people who have helped us on this work. First, of course, my colleagues, both my current colleagues as well as various people who have worked with us in the past, who have dedicated a lot of time, put in a lot of hard work towards this mission. Second, a large number of experts who have freely given of their time to help us understand the nuances of different issues so that our research is robust before it goes into the system, goes to MPs and MLAs. Then, of course, we are a not-for-profit group. We are entirely dependent on philanthropic funding. So I have to thank all the people who have trusted us and generously backed the idea with their wallets. Without that, it's a non-starter. I mean, we can't function. So I'm extremely grateful to everyone who has supported the work and continues to support that. Of course, our board for the same advice that they have provided from time to time. And finally, I must thank a particular group of people who are usually not acknowledged in the public sphere, our MPs and MLAs. We have actually seen many of them put in a lot of work to fine-tune bills and policies. We see that up very close, and they give meaning to what we do. So thanks again, Business Standard. Thanks again to the jury for recognizing this work. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That concludes our Social Excellence Awards. I'd invite Ms. Nivedita Mukherjee, Business Standard Resident Editor, for a panel discussion with the winners.
Thank you, Monish. And good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, please. You're okay.
Yeah.
Quite audible.
Yes. So my first question to all the panelists, all of you have been associated with the world of finance at some point or the other. That is interesting. So do you think this linkage with the world of finance has helped you in forwarding the social cause also? So, Mr. Dubashi, you are part of the system, so you can start.
Yeah, so I have been and am associated with the world of finance. Finance has taught me one thing, and I'm talking individually. I'm not talking about the company. Company obviously is in financial services. But finance has taught me one thing, that life as in finance can be as simple as you want, or it can be as complicated as you want. Financial services or finance can be made into an extremely complicated topic, which largely we do to justify our salaries. But if you look at it, it is really very simple. I mean, I always teach when I mentor somebody, I say that there is nothing more in finance than ratio analysis and time value of money. There is nothing else. So it is really that simple. This idea of understanding that if you want to complicate something, you can complicate it no end, and if you want to simplify something, you can make life really simple, has actually helped us in being in the social sector also. So I'll give you my own example, our own example, that just about 5 years back, we were spending our CSR money. We were spending it on close to 30 projects and not making any impact. And we had very complicated reasons why we should be doing all those things that we were doing, because all those things needed to be done, right? You needed to be in education because the country needs education. You needed to be in unemployment, etc., etc., etc. And at some point of time, we actually took a call, like we took call in business. Business, we said, okay, there are so many businesses to be done. We will concentrate on 2 or 3 where we have the right to win. Like that, we took a call, and it was a difficult call because you are already doing a few things. A lot of people in management, in board, etc., have particular interests in doing those causes. We took a call that let's be simple. Which are the causes for which we can make impact, because we will have a limited budget at all points of time, and which are the causes which we can scale up, and we will do those. We first identified rural, and within rural also we identified 2 things: water table management and digital financial literacy, especially amongst rural women. We believe that it is very simple for us to understand, because we are in rural India, we are really spread in rural India. 20,000 people are spread all over in rural India, all with a tablet. Each person with his mobile device is a branch, and we can scale it up, really scale it up. And that simple thinking, that using our business skills, we can scale up the social cause that we are doing, has tremendously helped us make an impact. And then the second part was measuring the impact, that not just doing things because we feel good, but we have to measure. These very simple parameters which we use in our financial services business, very strangely, they all work in the social sector also. And it just makes every rupee, or every hour, every minute that we spend worth it by being simple. So a different answer, but I believe finance taught me to be simple, and it has paid to be simple in business and also in social enterprise.
Right, I'll come back to you on that. Mr. Kaviratne?
There is no difference between running a business and running an organization for social impact. You need to do well in order to do good. And that's the first lesson. The second is that you need to find a need that has been unfulfilled, a gap, so that you don't duplicate what everyone else is doing. Once you've found that, you need to build a business model, just as you have to do in any for-profit business. And to do that, the recipe that works for me, or for us, has been to start small, but think big. Think big, start small, get the business model right, and then replicate, scale it up. And that is what has worked. As a result, we found this gap. You've got half the children in India who are suffering from cancer go undiagnosed. An even smaller number actually initiate treatment, and an even smaller number actually complete the treatment. The cure rate for cancer in developed countries is very high, it's 80% in children. The abandonment of treatment leads to a very low rate in low and middle income countries like ours, down to 20%. And part of the reason for this is, of course, fear. Part of the reason, a major part of it, is that they're financially unable to come in to where they can get the treatment. They first treat the child with paracetamol, then they go to a small nearby town, get some blood work done, then they're told they must go to a big city because this is serious. And they go to the big city, they find a doctor and they find a hospital willing to treat them, and then they need the funds. And once they have the funds, they discover, having already sold knowledge, come to this big city with probably their first child. They themselves are children in their 20s. They find that half the expense is not the medical expense. Half the expense is the non-medical expense. They need a place to stay. They need nutrition. They need care, education. So without that, they end up sleeping on the street in front of the hospital, and the doctors come out at night and they're in tears because they've been pumping expensive drugs into these children or giving them radiation therapy, and there they are on the pavement picking up some hereditary infection which is going to get them before the cancer does. That is what we've been able to do in St. Jude's. We've been able to give holistic care to these families.
In your opening remark, you mentioned that you kept running during COVID because cancer doesn't stop, which is so true. But how did you cope? Because with so much focus only on COVID, did other healthcare areas suffer?
The first thing, of course, was that we had to take all the precautions, the social distancing, the masks, etc. So we reduced our occupancy rate, which we prided ourselves with because we wanted to sweat the assets that had been built. So 100% occupancy was the metric pre-COVID. Once COVID came, we reduced it to 50% so that we could, in fact, keep the measures that were required to protect the families from COVID. Then, of course, they stopped coming into the big cities and they couldn't get back home once they'd completed treatment. The hospitals were extremely helpful to prevent or to avoid the families from going to the hospitals. They set up OPDs in our centers, and the pediatric oncologists used to come and treat the children at the centers themselves. And then, of course, we had to get them back home. So we had to arrange transportation. In between, of course, we had to arrange everything for them, including vegetables, and they couldn't go out at all anywhere. There was a lockdown. So to keep the centers running and to keep the treatment going, make sure they completed the treatment, didn't abandon it, and then to get them back safely home was a huge task. But very fortunately, that has continued. We only have two positive cases across India today with COVID, and they are recovering well.
Thank you. I'll come back to you with some more questions. Mr. Madhavan?
Yeah. Thank you.
Mr. Madhavan, you went to IIT, then you went to IIM, then you took up corporate jobs, including in banks, and then you founded this venture in 2005. That was the time when many more startups were coming up. 2 years later, Flipkart was born. So why PRS? What was the trigger?
The trigger was happenstance in some sense. So I had been discussing this idea with a friend of mine with whom I started PRS. So Madhukar, who had been, I was originally sounding board then. This sounded like something worthwhile doing, because the idea was that if we want to make significant impact to the lives of people in this country and at scale, you need to do something at the policy level, which if it strengthens the policy system, it leverages the power of the government and the resources of the government, then there can be scale impact. That was the idea. And this seemed like something worth trying out. Many of the developed democracies had good research systems to support their legislators. Ours did not. And if you even think of any MP, think of the most accomplished MP, and that person is very unlikely to understand, let us say, the nuances of an insolvency code, of telecom policy, of education policy, or how to handle health, what to do with a defense issue. I mean, no one can understand all this. So they, like everyone else, needs good research support, which our country was lacking. So I thought that my background and some amount of my skill set would also fit in here. And this is something I could contribute to. So that was the sort of idea with which we came in, with, of course, thinking that, okay, let's see whether it works. I mean, if it doesn't work, one can do something else. But I mean, it's something worth trying out. And I had personally said, we'll try it out for 2 years and see whether people are using our work. If they don't use, well, there are other things one can do in life. But if they use, it's worth doing. End of 2 years, about 100 MPs were reaching out to us. End of about 3.5 years, which was 2009 elections, we had about 250 MPs who were using our work. And then, of course, in the election, half of them were casualties of either not getting a ticket or losing the elections. But by 2014, by the next election, the number had crossed 400. So every parliamentary cycle, we have had more than 50% of all MPs. I'm talking Lok Sabha plus Rajya Sabha. So 50% of all MPs come to us for work. And that actually has kept us going, because that gives us belief that what we are doing is found useful by the target segment that we are reaching out to. That's why they are coming back to us repeatedly. I mean, that's actually what keeps us going. And we know they are using our work all the time. We have actually seen them using that in their speeches. We have been invited many times by committees to depose, to understand issues. So we know that it's useful. I mean, that's the in the sense, the market feedback we are getting from them. So that's what keeps us going.
So 15 years later, after you started it, do you think the legislative process has become more transparent? What is the job that is to be done now?
Okay, transparent, I'm not very sure. Okay, in the sense, there is a level of transparency which was there 15 years ago also. For example, if you're following Parliament, let us say the debate happens. Now it's, of course, live televised. Nowadays it's live webcast. Earlier that wasn't there. But the proceedings, the written proceedings, are available on the net by the next day. So it's available to everybody. So in the sense of what has happened in Parliament is extremely transparent. What goes behind that, of course, like everywhere else, there's a lot of things that will go behind the scenes. Committees is for me, I mean, I want to come to understand that a lot of work and a lot of importance must be placed to committees. When committees work, they do phenomenal work. I'll just give you 2 examples, and anybody can go and check it out, okay, because they're all on the Parliament website. Look at the insolvency bankruptcy code bill, the original bill that was introduced. Then look at the committee report, which is on their website, the parliamentary committee report, and look at the final act that was passed. There is significant improvement. There are lots of glitches that were cleaned out towards the same very purpose for which it was. I'll give you a second example from a different field. The motor vehicles amendment, which was introduced and which also had a lot of controversy, but it went to the committee gave its report, then it again went to a Rajya Sabha Select Committee, and the government actually accepted most of the committee recommendations, and that improved the bill. So we have seen that time and again in many bills. Unfortunately, some bills are not, and that actually hurts because it doesn't help build consensus. So some of this we have seen happening.
Right. So coming back to you, Mr. Dubashi, on the policy front, do you have any expectations in the area of CSR? Though you mentioned that CSR is part of business and it should not be seen in isolation. But any expectation from the government, and on the policy front, are there any hurdles? This question is for all three of you, actually, and we can start with Mr. Dubashi.
Not only CSR, I will answer your question even overall on business side. I mean, government can do only so much. I mean, government is extremely important in the country, but they can do only so much. I mean, let me just give you an example of the 2% of profit of the last 3 years was mandated by the government. There are people who exceed that. There are people who do that 2% and do that 2% in the true spirit. And then there are corporates who don't do it in the true spirit. Let me put it this way. So government can do what it can, and up to a particular level, I think it is for each one of us, each one citizen of India, and I take a corporate as a person, natural person, and each one of us, if we understand that when we do, I wouldn't say CSR, when we get into any area of sustainability, it is not only the society which benefits, but something that we are doing or we as a person also benefits. And that once that is understood, I think every effort will become more sustainable. Every rupee spent will be spent well, because it's a large country, it's a very federal country, a government, there are state governments, there is a company law board, there is MCA, there are various regulators. If we keep looking at these people for doing better sustainability, social justice, CSR, we will be kept, it will be waiting for Godot. I believe we have to believe that what they have done is good. It's a good beginning. And as every citizen of India, whether it is individual or a corporate, we need to do not only our bit. I mean, it will be a cliche to say we need to do our bit, but we believe that it should be the fundamental belief that we benefit. L&T Finance believes that our business benefits, our profits in rupees crore goes up because we do certain things which are socially beneficial. It is not the other way around. It is not because we make money, we have enough money to spend on society. We truly believe that because we do certain things for society, that the area there, that we get better business, people there, we have better goodwill, they repay us on time, and we genuinely do better business because of that. And that would be truly, I mean, it's not that I'm avoiding answering your question directly. It's truly that's what I believe. I mean, government has done what it has in various fields, not only this, economic policy, whatever. It will keep doing in its own, wisdom. We will keep doing some advocacy. But 90% of the work will have to be done by private people, private enterprises, and private people, private citizens.
Mr. Dubashi, since you mentioned CSR is integral to business, I will ask you a business question. That is, you were pairing your non-core book. So what is the process that you are in now, and how much of reduction are you left to do?
Okay. I will answer that, but it's a very interesting question in terms of how we have decided our CSR also. So what is non-core? Non-core doesn't necessarily mean bad. Okay. Our non-core book right now is little upwards of 4,000 crores, out of which 95% or little more than that is standard. Okay. And whatever is non-standard, we have provided. So that is a book which doesn't bother us. But why was it called non-core in the first place? It was called non-core because it didn't tick one of the three criteria. The three criteria is the industry that we are in should be big and growing. Second criteria, we should have a right to win in that industry. Third criteria is it should be profitable sustainably. Across the cycle, it should make profits. And any business which didn't tick even one of these boxes, we simply discontinued. And that is what we call non-core. Okay? So non-core doesn't mean bad. It is good for someone else. We tried to sell some of it. So just to give you the numbers, just 1.5 years back, this was close to 12,000 crores. Today it is just above 4,000 crores. Good book, other than one or two assets which are fully provided. And we expect next 18 months, it will be coming down to 1,000 crores or so. So what it has done is, even these we were doing reasonably well, but we were doing in other businesses much better. So capital, manpower, management bandwidth, all has gone to the right things, and that is where the company has started doing well. And why I said it is very important is for our social projects, we applied exactly the same criteria. That is this, is this big enough and is scalable? One, do we have a clear reason to succeed in what we are doing? Two, and secondly, not only me as MD, but somebody else coming after me will find reasons to continue this. That means it should be very close to business and sustainable. Once it ticked these three boxes, we have continued. And you take, we do water level conservation. I mean, the area there is good for business for us after that. We do financial literacy. My entire microloans community there starts learning digital. My collections went on well when you could not approach customers during this because they were digitally literate. And we got money that way. I mean, the villages, and suddenly digital transactions in villages went up because people who were not literate started started approaching our customers, the people who had benefited from this, saying, please teach me. And it benefited. Disaster relief, when floods come, when torrential rain come, we don't like contributing to kitties. Our people, our business people actually go in areas where the rains have been, the floods have been bad, and our business density is good, not necessarily only to our customers, but specifically find people and help them, tremendously increasing goodwill and helping our collections. And we are not apologetic about it.
Mr. Dubashi, another business question. Is L&T Finance still looking for a bank?
I think that question is first to the regulator. It has to be first allowed. We will definitely be interested if such a policy is made, depending on what the policy entails. So definitely, why not? But the policy has to come first.
Thank you. Mr. Kaviratne, can I come to you on that question on policy? Is there any policy hurdle in social giving?
I agree entirely with Mr. Dubashi. You cannot force someone to appreciate the joy that there is in giving. It has to come from within. There has to be an innate generosity of spirit, and there is. He talked about floods and rain, and I remember when I left India in 1984, just before that, there'd been a huge flood, and the road in Mumbai to the airport was completely flooded. And people were stranded in their cars on that road. They went and knocked on doors, and people who were living along that road, they shut themselves, kept quiet inside, pretended not to be at home. I returned to India in 2006. Again, there was a flood. Again, huge rains. Again, people stranded on that highway to the airport. This time, they didn't have to knock on any doors. The people actually came out. They offered the people who were stranded water or something to eat. They asked them to come in and use the washroom. That innate generosity of spirit had come up in people. And that is something which you cannot force. It's got to come by itself. When I went out asking NGOs who were collecting money for medical treatment for cancer children with cancer, I expected them to give me a few pages with big names and huge sums of money. Instead, they brought me 4 or 5 telephone directories full of small names with 100 rupees each every month. That is the generosity of spirit that there is in India. And as soon as you come above the threshold of your own needs, that gets expressed. You don't need any government to force it.
All right, Mr. Madhavan, your thoughts on that?
So I am, on the taking side, right? I'm not on the giving side.
Right.
So I'm a non-profit. But I've seen a lot of this from the other side of the table, okay, over the last few years. And it's quite amazing how some people are so generous. I'll just give you an example without naming names. I don't want to name names. So there was this person that I had got an introduction to, and to say that, why don't you have a conversation with this person? So I fixed a time, went with a colleague and had a meeting. And of course, I didn't want to ask money in the first meeting. I wanted to explain what we are doing. And I wanted to have an excuse for the meeting. So, and this person is also an expert on certain areas. So I said, when these things come up, can our teammates reach out to you and use your team's work? And the response was, of course, yes. And I will personally commit my money for the next 3 years, and it was a fairly generous amount. So we have come across this sort of support from time to time, and that again keeps us, in that sense, keeps me optimistic about the future, because running a non-profit, the single biggest constraint is funds, because we don't earn a single paisa. They say that, when you're talking about startups, they say, what's your burn rate? My burn rate is 100% by definition. So because everything that I get, I'm going to burn. And that also leads me to a second thing about our internal philosophy, which is that people are trusting us to do the right thing with the money they are giving us. And therefore, we also are trustees of the funding that you are getting, and we have to use it judiciously. So every activity that we do, and this is where, to your earlier question that you had asked about the finance background,
yes,
helps. It is return on investment, not in terms of cash in return, but in terms of impact. So if I'm spending X amount of money, what is the impact that I expect from this piece of activity? That is something that we keep thinking about, and we actually use that as a filter to see whether we want to do something or not, and whether it's sustainably, it's not a one-time activity. If it actually works, can we run for a number of years, and things like that. So that's something we have seen, but I'm actually quite very touched by the generosity of lots of our funders all the time.
During the pandemic, which has isolated a lot of us to a large extent, because that's the nature of the infection. So do you think giving has suffered overall?
I don't know, because at least our funders, most of us have stuck by us, and we have continued. The question also comes that in these sort of emergencies, okay, in this sort of crisis period, even if they're, are they reallocating their wallet for this year for maybe a COVID related or a migrant related, or there is something else which is an immediate concern, and are they reallocating? That's a question. But fortunately, till now, we have had a couple of our funders going off, but by and large, most of them have stuck with us and said that what we are doing is important enough to continue support and sustain. So we have been fortunate in that. I have heard of various people having much higher level of stress in the funding.
Right. So, Mr. Dubashi, what has your experience been general, in the corporate world? Have you heard that, giving has suffered during the pandemic?
Agree with Mr. Madhavan. So first of all, it's little early in the financial year to see what people's budgets overall will be. There is still 6 months to go. Generally speaking, the industry spends around 2% of profits, and obviously profits are going to be low. So I would believe that the CSR budget of industry as a whole will be lower. So that is number one. Generally speaking, there are people who will not let it get affected. There are people who will be on the other side. I will say on the average. The second thing which is happening, what Mr. Madhavan said, is that more money may be getting allocated to COVID help. So let us take us for example. We had obviously zero budget for COVID help last year because there was no COVID. this year there will be a finite number which will go for COVID centers and setting up a COVID center in couple of places, etc. So I believe people who truly believe that giving is good for business, good for heart, good for person, they will continue to give. But for maybe 1 or 2 years, we will see some reallocation to this particular ghost, which was just not there 12 months back. So it's a new thing which has come, and some reallocation of funds will.
Is there clarity that COVID will be covered under CSR, or there was a talk on that?
So there was a talk on even contribution to PM cares, etc. No clarity as yet. It depends, right? I mean, healthcare in some way is in some certain way. It depends on how you do it. I mean, if you just contribute to some fund, will it be covered? No. But if you give for, in rural areas, specific healthcare, I'm sure it will be covered. So that's one. Second is, beyond a particular level, we have to stop bothering whether it is within that 2%. Some money should be irrespective of that. You have to do what is needed and then see whether the ministry comes up with notifications. It cannot be ministry coming up with notification and then you spend, because then there will be no time to spend or no time to do anything.
Any advice for India Inc. on philanthropy, on charity, anything that you have to say?
I am too small a person to give advice. I mean, there are people who have done way more than us, way more. I mean, we are too small to give advice. So to India Inc., I'm sorry, I think my forget modesty, my humility will not allow me to give advice. But only thing I will say is the way we have made it sustainable amongst ourselves, and which I believe made permanent beyond generations of management, is making it linking to what we do for a living. And only if you link to it to what you do for a living, it will not change, because next managing director's favorite project is something else.
Right.
That is sustainable, right? And that's what we have tried to do.
Thank you. Mr. Kaviratne?
The ratio has changed. There's no question about that. What do I mean by that? I don't think the amount of giving has gone down. In fact, it's gone up. But it hasn't kept pace with the denominator, which is the need. The need has grown faster than the giving, the increase in giving. And that need has grown, that denominator has grown, firstly, as was just said, because there are new needs that have emerged as a result of COVID. Secondly, there has been an unbelievable devastation in the livelihood of people who are lower middle and lower class, poorer people, needy people. There has been a devastation in their income. Somebody talked earlier about jobs. That's going to be a huge issue, not just in the time of COVID, but as we come out of it as well. We need to create 12 million jobs a year, and we're creating only 4 million a year for the last 10 years. And without that, that livelihood is going to become even more difficult. So I don't think that the giving has reduced. I think it's increased, but the increase has not kept pace with the increase in need.
Going ahead, what is the road forward? Do you think philanthropy in India has future?
Are you addressing that to me?
Yes.
Yes, I think it has a huge future, because I think increasingly people are realizing, like we just heard Mr. Duvashi say, that even if self-interest is what is driving it, and there's nothing wrong with that, I think the alignment of purpose in a corporation is coming. I think everyone who jumped on the digital bandwagon has now realized that the new thing is purpose. And both internally with your employees, as an employer brand, if you are seen as one which has purpose and which actually delivers a social impact as an outcome for all that you do, if the community is part of your stakeholders and not just your shareholders who give you the equity or your lenders who give you the debt, but the community, if you see that as being a key stakeholder, then you will do well and you will do better. Externally, even more so. Even in a supermarket, in that big basket place, they will pick up a pack and look at the back of it to see who's made this thing. And if it's made by someone whom you don't have to feel embarrassed about buying the product, looking over your shoulder, if you feel proud about buying something from that company, then that company will do well and they will give more. So I think there is a huge future to companies with purpose and philanthropy.
Thank you. I think that's a good note to end this session on. And thank you all very much.
Thank you. You're very welcome. Thank you.
That brings us to the end of the Business Standard Awards Winners Conclave. A big thank you to all the winners for being here today and their insights. Thanks to our partner, Great Eastern Shipping. And many thanks, dear audience, for joining us today. Have a great evening. Goodbye.